I'm gonna do it. Alright. Okay. It's all dreary outside, which is nice. Can you guys see okay with these lights on?
Yeah.
I'm just. Alright. Well, we'll get started. So I'm doing a talk on mushroom nootropics and aphrodisiacs. I will kind of just introduce myself first and let you know a little bit of my background. So, Can Mushrooms Save the Planet? It is the name of a documentary that I have been working on for about a decade now. And yeah, this last decade has flown by really quickly. And typically I have all this footage, okay? I mean, I'm sitting on a ton of footage right now. And I will go to various events, music festivals, mycological events, permaculture events, things like that. And my talk is usually on this topic, okay? So I'm stepping outside of what I usually talk about, but Can Mushrooms Save the Planet? It's a question, and I talk about all the ways that people are utilizing fungi to kind of face some of the epidemics that our planet is going through right now. And there's a lot of really amazing things going on, a lot of really inspiring people, and it just gives me hope. So this is a topic that I am really, really passionate about. So in 2012, I started working on my documentary and reaching out to various people who are experts in their field, asking them questions, and really starting to go down rabbit holes. So if I'm interested in something, I just research and research. I'll get all the books. I'll talk to the people. I travel places. And it has led me down a number of different paths. And I flew here from Colorado, the Four Corners area, and I started the Four Corners Mycological Society there. We have a Colorado Mycological Society, but they're like 8 hours away. So, Four Corners, we incorporate all 4 states, and we have about 1,800 people now online. We do a yearly annual camp out up near Telluride in August. So if you guys come up for the Telluride Mushroom Festival, if you're familiar with that, it's one of our larger international mushroom festivals. Our Four Corners Mycological Society will be up on Lizard Head Pass. And in the daytime, we have speakers and little forays. And at night, we pull out the generators and we have live bands and DJ and lasers and stuff like that. So it's the best of both worlds. I also started the Colorado Mushroom Company back in 2018. I've been making medicines and things like that since 2016. Just really passionate about all the different ways that mushrooms help our bodies. They help our ecology, our ecological systems, but they also help our bodies. And so I was making mushroom tinctures and elixirs and infusions, all sorts of things for my family and for my friends, and I turned it into a business. And then when COVID hit, my business sales went up. People were afraid to die, and they're like, mushrooms will save me. So I was surprised. I was like, okay, universe is kind of pushing me into making medicines. And so I've just gone with it because I love it. There's my sister. Isn't she cute? Also, people approach me about psychedelics. At first I was like, no, I don't really know much about psilocybin, things like that. So back in 2015, I started studying psilocybin specifically. And in 2018, I started a chapter of the Psychedelic Club. It's in Durango, and it's a nonprofit organization. We meet once a month. We have a board of directors. We have some really educated and really amazing people on our board, and we have guest speakers. It's a really lovely thing. And if you're interested in starting a chapter of the Psychedelic Club, you can reach out to me, or you can look it up online, and you can start one in your region. I highly suggest it for educational purposes. We're trying to increase mainstream cultural awareness and acceptance of psychedelics and psychedelic therapies. I personally am very attracted to mushrooms, fungi. That's my area of study, although I've kind of branching out now, you know, having talked to a lot of different people, and started playing around with other herbs and nootropics, both naturally occurring ones and synthetic ones as well, synthesized nootropics. So yes, mushroom nootropics and aphrodisiacs. So here I am with a giant Amanita muscaria. They grow all over the planet. They grow on every single continent, except for Antarctica, supposedly, but I bet we'll find something having to do with that at some point, because, you know, our Earth is always changing. But as you know, if you know anything about these mushrooms, they can get really big, and they're just kind of fantastic and fun. There's my sister. I love Jenny. You know Jenny.
Yes.
I know, I wanted to bring her here with me, you know, she's my partner in crime now, she's my, you know, I mean, we didn't really talk for like 18 years, and so it was really nice. During COVID, she actually came back, she was living in South Carolina, she has a house there and everything. She came up to be with me and my family and my mom, because COVID was kind of scary, you know, and so it brought people together. I mean, it separated people, but it brought people together, so, you know, all things for a reason. So I just want to make a disclaimer, this is aphrodisiac talk, so if you are sensitive to topics that might have to do with sensuality or even possibly sexuality, just giving you a warning, you know, we're all adults here, or adult oriented, right? But it's not anything bad, it's good, it's good. What is this slide? So fungi are very beautiful, you know, some of them are very feminine, you know. Bob, you said something about not liking dirty fingernails, so there you go. Get out there. But no, they're just so beautiful, and to me, I just get so excited when I'm out in nature and foraging. In Colorado, we have to go up above the passes. That's where the moisture is, so above 10,000, 11,000 feet, pretty high up, you know, low oxygen, so, you know. Actually, Amanita muscaria helps with oxygen absorption, along with cordyceps, so. All right. So the kingdom of fungi. So I call it the queendom. You know, you can call it the kingdom if you want to. You know, to each their own. It's a panacea. So a panacea is a cure-all. If you look at the medicinal properties of some of these mushrooms, you start thinking, wow, are they good for everything? And most of them are good for similar things. Some of them are a little bit better for this, that, and the other. But, and I did a talk on Friday, and I went over more of the medicinal mushrooms and whatnot. They're just like, they're like good for everything. It's kind of, it's almost unbelievable. Just a few of the benefits. So they help our immune system. So Christopher Hobbs last night said something about them being immunostimulants, and he's incorrect about that. They're not stimulants, they're immunomodulators. So they help to balance our immune systems. So if you have an overactive immune system or an underactive immune system, it kind of tells your body what it needs to do. I feel like it helps it educates your body. It makes your body smart. So yeah, and a lot of the research I've been doing has had to do with libido, energy, being able to sustain. I have friends that are professional athletes and whatnot, and they use a lot of these mushrooms and other things to help them with their vigor. And so I'm always looking at, you know, I mean, our body is a whole system, and so if our nervous system is working properly, if our guts are working properly, you know, that's immune system right there. It's where serotonin is released. We need our happy chemicals, we need our hormones balanced. You have to look at the whole system. And if your system is not working properly, it needs to be balanced. And there are ways to do it naturally or also through the pharmaceuticals, you know. I'm not anti-anything. So, okay, mushroom aphrodisiacs. So some of these pictures are fun, okay? I like reishi. Look at that. This is such a beautiful shot. I love that. You know, reishi is known just for, I mean, it's a cure-all as well. And so, you know, start with the basics. A lot of the conch mushrooms are going to be a good way to start. They help get, like reishi specifically, or if you get into the red belt. I'm really an advocate of the red belt and polypore. Up here it's Fomitopsis. I guess it's not Fomitopsis canicula. It's now found that that's only in Asia. So there's Fomitopsis shrinkii in our western slopes, and I guess they just changed the name in this area. I still call it whatever. It's always changing, which is kind of fun. Who knows what kind of mushroom this is? That says the name of it on here. So this is Schizophyllum communi. So the late Tom Volk, if you were familiar with Tom Volk, he just passed away. He has a really great online, it's almost like a thesaurus or dictionary of mushrooms, and he'll tell you how to say these the names, and if you listen to him, he goes, Schizophyllum communi. I don't know why I love it. I would play it over and over again and just giggle. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so funny. But anyways, her breath is like honey, spiced with aromatic cloves. Her mouth is as delicious as a ripe mango. Kissing her skin is like tasting a lotus flower. The hollow of her navel hides spices of plenty. And about the joys that wait beyond, the tongue knows, but cannot say. Ooh la la. So I put a picture of Schizophyllum here because they have, according to Tom Volk, over 28,000 sexes. Like, I mean, we think that we are confused, you know? It's like, oh, are you straight? Are you gay? Are you trans? What are you? 28,000, that's a lot to think about. And basically, my understanding is that the spores, some of them look just alike, you know, but, okay, so the spores will be in the air or in the water, depending on the species, but say with this, it's in the air. And this spore might go up to the spore and go, I don't like that one. But they actually find another spore to connect with, drop it to the ground, and that's where they start to grow, right? And I'm just like, well, does that mean that like if two of them look exactly the same, then they're, you know, they're gay spores? Or, no, wait, we can't think about these things in human terms. You know, this is way more complex than we can even fathom. I know, I was even thinking, I think some of the spores can self-propagate. So it's like, oh, gosh, just imagine if every time you masturbated, you could have a baby. Just, okay. These are really, I mean, these are prolific creatures. Yeah. So, okay, so what is an aphrodisiac? So most people think about aphrodisiacs as something that you might eat, you know, or maybe even smell, but think about it in a holistic sense. Aphrodisiacs, you know, have been written about for thousands of years. I have this great big book called the Encyclopedia of Aphrodisiacs. They also, what is that guy's name? But anyway, he has another book that's the Encyclopedia of Psychoactive Substances. And they're just really, it's a really incredible book if you're interested in kind of diving down these holes, you know, a little more. That's just, who thinks of these things when they're out in the woods? Jeez. I want to cultivate my own mushrooms, unsubscribe to modern socialization, and meet our alien ancestors. Gosh, interesting. So, okay, that is out of order, but that's okay. We're going to kind of go forward here. So, all mushrooms are magic, as we all know. But okay, so think about our senses. We have 5 senses. We can smell, we can taste, we can see, we can feel. There's even the 6th sense, right? It's like we can sense something, we can intuit something. Sometimes we just know things without knowing. And all of these senses can be stimulated in different ways. And I say that if it stimulates any of your senses in a way that is sensual, because sensuality and sexuality are not necessarily the same. But if it is stimulating, then it gives you an aphrodisiac effect. Okay? This is just a beautiful picture. That's a nice cantarellus right there. Very feminine. And then Bob, I think I was with you at Salt Point. The last guy was talking about Salt Point, and we found these guys, and I thought, my goodness, what is going on with these very interesting? I mean, nature is very interesting. You know, there's another picture. You know, those are gills, by the way. Okay, I'm going to show you guys this. I showed this to a group of about 60 people, and there were people like freaking out. I was like, oh, come on. That's an oyster, isn't it? That's a king oyster. Call it. Oh gosh. is having, is that right? I don't cook them that way. Oh God. This one lady yells out, enough, enough! Oh, I know, it's so bad. Oh, come on.
Miss Babbitt.
It's edible. So some mushrooms are very, very feminine, some are masculine, and who's to say why? Stephanie Sarley, she has an Instagram page, and she's quite silly. But okay, so like nature is very interesting. You guys have a lot of witch's cat here, very mucilaginous and sticky. Reminds me of feminine mucus in some ways. Guttation, very beautiful. I don't know, I get out in nature and I start thinking that these things are very sensual. Like I find sensuality in nature, I do. And I'll stop showing the, I'm just trying to get you guys like excited here, okay? But like, guttation. So this is guttation. If you ever get a chance, go and lick it. It's really exciting. It's really exciting. Go back sometime. It's really delicious. It's almost, I mean, it's some of the cleanest water I've ever experienced. So, okay, so let's get into more of the information. So, brain tonics, nootropics, things that stimulate our brains to function, cognition, memory, focus, right? And we think about the brain in our head, but our entire nervous system is really what, to me, a nootropic is meant to stimulate. Because if we're stimulating the nerves in our brains, we're stimulating our entire nervous system. And as we age, all of us, our nervous systems start to degrade. And so it's a really good idea to do the things that are going to protect our nervous system. And also some of these mushrooms and other stimulants and whatnot help to grow new nervous tissue. And so this is a really important thing so that we can function properly, think properly, be healthy, all of the things. And I really do believe it's our guts and our nervous systems that we need to focus on. So I study all of these mushrooms. I also make art. There you go. So sex and your nervous system, okay? They are very connected. Before I started studying this particular topic, I really didn't think about the nervous system having to do with it. I was thinking maybe more along the lines of stimulate like circulation, heart health, you know, and those things are really important as well. But the nervous system is really important for so many reasons, okay? So when we're talking about arousal and things like that, that falls under the category of our limbic system, which is like an autonomic response. So basically like our heart beats without us thinking about it. We breathe without thinking about it. And we actually become sexually aroused sometimes without even thinking about it. Sometimes this is like beyond our control. It could be pheromones. It could be a song. Sometimes it's just like, we are such diverse and individual beings that to say one thing is the thing that turns a person on, you can't do that. They cannot find a specific place in the brain that has to do with arousal. It just has to do with you personally. And so that's why it's an interesting and very diverse topic and something to think about, because it's primitive, but it's also, I don't know, like you can really dive into it, especially as logical thinking human beings. You can go any number of avenues of this. So when the nervous system isn't working properly, it can affect how we become aroused, our sexual responses, our comfort levels in sex, and so much more. Much of the hormone regulation in our bodies is regulated by our nervous system. So agents of pleasure. Okay, pleasure doesn't always have to be sexual. And touch is so important. Touch is so important for like babies to grow. You know, they're in the womb for so long, they come out, they need their mothers, and that is pleasurable. It's pleasurable to hold a baby. I mean, just think about all the oxytocin that's released there. So pleasure doesn't always have to do with sex. It really doesn't. It can be as simple as walking in the woods and really getting into your environment, you know? So I think it's a very To me, pleasure is one of those things that should be at the top of the list of importance in our lives. Communion, I'd say, I know, what's the guy's name here? He said something about isolation's not good, but I'm like, no, you need to isolate so you can be out and be with people and then be in the forest and be with the people. Like, it's all balancing acts. And if you balance it properly, it's good. But, yes, what are agents of pleasure? And why should a substance that increases sexual desire affect a person's psyche, a mind, or consciousness? Okay, you know, our food that we eat sometimes can affect the way we're thinking. You know, we can get really sleepy after eating something, or if we haven't eaten, sometimes fasting will give us lots of energy, right? So it's like, it's really hard to say. But our brain is the largest, but is a very important sexual organ, especially for some of us who are more sapiosexual. I know, like for me, I get stimulated by intelligence and things like that. So like my brain wants to be stimulated before anything else. If I'm not comfortable in my body and my brain and myself, then I can't be comfortable otherwise. And so it's important to kind of understand yourself and drop into that and find out what it is that you are into. So aphrodisiacs, you know, when you're using aphrodisiacs, let's just say, to stimulate a situation, kind of like psychedelics, it's about set and setting, right? You want to set the environment. You want to make sure there are soft lighting, nice smells, you know, nice tasting things, you know, the right people, right person, and you can be by yourself and create these in environments. So I am going to get into, yes, dosage, set, and setting. So Terrence McKenna talks about set and setting, and when taking psychedelics, he talks a lot about mushrooms and other entheogens. He was quite the traveler. But it's true, with anything that you do, you want to create an environment that feels good. So here's where this is out of sync. That's okay. The 5 senses, so erotic experience. Words can be arousing. Vision. Some say that we fall in love at first sight. Without the power of vision, we would have no allure. Oh, good grief. You know, I don't even know if I agree with that. You know, I mean, you can close your eyes and still have the sight of, well, I guess that's your sixth sense, your third eye. But then it's like, you know, some people are blind, and so I'm sure that they see in different ways. The eyes tell us who we find erotic. Hearing, nonverbal communication is also quite purring, whispering, love poems. These are all things that can entice us. You know, you get that text from someone you like or love, and my heart just jumped. You know, and I didn't even have to hear their name. I didn't even have to hear them. Touch. Our skin is our largest organ, and touch is a very, very powerful way to communicate with someone. Some of us have things like PTSD when it comes to touch. So touch therapies, that's one of the things I've been studying, utilizing psilocybin, MDMA, things like that, to resensitize, because often we become numb when we've gone through trauma. So, and also touch stimulates the brain. So like learning during, I sometimes will hold myself. Just feels good. Embrace. Smell again. So I'm gonna get into smells like truffles. I'm sure everyone here likes truffles, or if you don't like them, you know of them. But yeah, taste. What was that?
I'm aroused.
Utilizing psychedelics to overcome the lack of touch and touch experience during. So like there's all these studies that are showing that like things like MDMA, which is ecstasy, some people are mixing it with psilocybin. We're gonna have a guest speaker this month at our psychedelic club, and he's gonna talk about using ketamine, psilocybin, as well as MDMA, and he kind of is like outside of the box, but he has a ketamine treatment center in Denver. And so these are all really hot topics, but psychedelics and sexual desire, the impact of it. Now I will say that there are levels of taking substances. If you take too much of something, it's kind of like it makes you go within. And then if you take just a microdose, yes, that's going to be stimulating to your system. But I like to take what I call a euphoric dose or an aphrodisiac dose. And that allows you to be kind of in that dreamy state and also be able to connect with another person. And you can connect within yourself in this way, but you know, if you're trying to connect with someone, it's good to just be aware of what your tolerance levels are, so you don't overdo it. And you're like, all right, I'm gonna go, you know, in this other room by myself for a while. You know, I mean, or fall asleep, for instance. You know, that's a thing as well. Truffles. So truffles are an interesting thing. They're very aromatic. We know that pigs search for them, and the reason why pigs love them so much is because truffles let off a certain pheromone that is similar to that of a male pig. It's a sexual pheromone. And I find that to be very interesting in that we are so connected to these fungal creatures that pheromones overlap in a lot of weird ways. We don't really understand all of the nuances. We're still learning. The Greeks used truffles back in the day, but they didn't really understand what it was that was what was so attractive about it. Did anyone go to that really awesome workshop on truffle cultivation earlier?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really nice. That was really nice. I'd love to talk to her about this, just to see what her perspective on truffles and.
She said her nose is destroyed
From sniffing so many truffles.
No, she says a lung problem from snorting the.
So the black truffle specifically is very, very strong, and I guess it interacts with our brain in a similar way of like if you were attracted to someone's smell, let's just say, you know, because sometimes we're not attracted to people, and you'll know, like if you're like I went on a date with a guy and I was like, oh, I don't like the way it smells, like I just couldn't get past that. But yes, let's see here. All right, so we will move on because truffles, you know, scents are really fun and truffles are really fun, but I like Amanita muscaria. Amanita muscaria is one of those, it's becoming more popularized now. I started studying Amanita muscaria about 8 years ago. We have Amanita muscaria flavivulata that grows in our area, our region, and apparently it's extremely high in ibotenic acid and muscimol and muscarine and all the constituents. I've ordered some from like Lithuania. You sent me some here from Sebastopol. I had some from Arizona. I've been trying ones from all over the world, and I have to say the Colorado ones, or at least the ones in our Rocky Mountain region, are extremely strong. So I tried to parboil them and eat them like a mushroom matter and like a food, and I parboiled it 3 times. David Rohr says parboil it twice. I did it thrice, and upon eating it, I started sweating and salivating and all the things. I was like, no, this is not what I want. So, you know, it's good to know your mushrooms in your region. You always know your mushrooms. Mushrooms, you know, I mean, this is interesting. I mean, is that an Amanita muscaria? We don't know. I mean, they look like Amanita muscarias, but it's been referred to as the forbidden fruit. And some people believe that, you know, it wasn't an apple, it was Amanita muscaria. We don't know. We don't really know, but we can speculate. So, yes, Amanita muscaria is the iconic red mushroom with the white polka dots, and it's toxic. If you were to just eat it fresh, it would make you feel sick. You have to prepare it properly. You have to basically decarboxylate it and whatnot. Just really gorgeous. I just love this mushroom. I have to say it might be my spirit mushroom. Or spirit animals. All right, so what do we got here? All right, close your eyes. I'm just kidding. And all right. All right. So muscimol. So Amanita muscaria has a constituent in it called muscimol. Ibotenic acid converts into more muscimol, and that is what is calming to the nervous system. So I work with this mushroom in making micro dose tinctures and things like that. I have clients that use it to help with their epilepsy. Have gotten themselves off of their epileptic drugs and whatnot. I have a couple who said they're weaning themselves off of their ADHD pills and anti-anxiety pills, and I'm like, that's really good to hear about. This stuff's really good for your nervous system, whether you're taking it internally or putting it on topically. And I know arthritis is connected to your nervous system. Got all these silly fun pictures, okay? So muscimol, muscimol has been studied. You can look up the science papers on it. It's been studied, I think, since the 90s, I want to say. But it's going to become more and more popularized. You know, they want to synthesize it, and that's fine. You know, just like with psilocybin, you know, they want to synthesize it, and it's, you know, there's reasons on both sides to do it or not to do it, right? But this is like Amanita muscaria is the oldest entheogenic mushroom that we know about. You know, like I said, it's all over the planet. It's in every continent. It has been shown to aid in learning and memory. So these things are nootropics. So when we're talking about the nervous system, the brain and whatnot, to me, muscimol is a nootropic. I don't use it very often. I find it to be a very intelligent nootropic. You don't have to take it all the time unless you're taking it for a specific reason and you're trying, you know, it depends on what your regimen is and what you're trying to achieve. But ultimately what I'm finding is that this particular constituent, it trains your body how to work. And you don't have to take it all the time. You might want to take it once a month. You might take it a couple times a week. It just really depends. And there are different ways to intake it. But it helps, yeah, it makes your body more intelligent as far as I can tell.
Ignore this if you're going to go over it, but does it have any side effects?
Muscimol itself? No, not muscimol. What would have side effects would be like the ibotenic acid. That can be, like if you were to just like eat a fresh specimen, it would be very hard on your digestive system, your liver and whatnot, and that's what causes you to sweat and salivate and things like that. You might get nauseated, you might even vomit, you know?
I would add, it's in the parasympathetic nervous system, it innervates, and it's muscarinic effects as opposed to nicotinic. So anybody who smokes cigarettes knows what nicotinic effects are.
Right,
This is the opposite.
and muscarinic, so you're talking about the muscarine.
Sort of the opposite pole from that.
Mm-hmm. So muscarine is in it, it's in very, very small amounts. So muscarine, if you were to inhale like a gas, it could kill you. So in the mushroom itself, there are very, very small amounts. And when you prepare it properly, so you first dry the caps, that's the first form of decarboxylating, and you're turning the ibotenic acid into muscimol, and only about 30% happens at that point. Then you would weigh it up, depending on how much you want to make or take, and you boil it. That's the other process. So muscarine evaporates at 110, so boiling it is gonna kind of get rid of it, so you're not even ingesting any of it at that point, which is interesting.
So kind of boiling out the poison.
Yes, exactly. So you want to make sure you're preparing it properly so that you don't get sick. But no one has been known to die of this, but there are other Amanita varieties that could be dead, you know, so it's like really important to know what you're dealing with and how to do it and all the things, because you don't want to get sick.
But getting the substance that helps with concentration, is that a different process?
So the muscimol, so that's like, you want to convert it. So in my discussion, I'm not really talking about isolating it per se, because I don't do that. I work with like the mushroom itself in its raw form. I go and pick it, I dry it, I prepare it, I tincture it, I make it into salves. I work with it. You can also make it into a smoking blend, and that's really nice as well, actually. And, you know, and you can eat this mushroom. I mean, there have been a lot of different indigenous tribes. Siberia, we know they did it there, but it grows all over the place. But you would parboil it, remove, because it's water soluble. So when you boil it in water, so with this in Siberia, what they do is when they boil it in water, they take that hot water and they give it to the elders and people who are having aches and pains, because it helps a lot with pain. That's this book here. This came out a couple of months ago. This isn't mine yet. And this is a really good book if you want to learn more about Amanita muscaria. It's called Microdosing with Amanita muscaria. And so I feel like this book is lacking, but it has a really, it's got a lot of good information about case studies. And what I'm looking at and finding is that, and with my personal interactions, is that Amanita muscaria helps a lot with pain mostly. A lot of the things that they have listed in there, it just seems like about 50-50. It's like it either helped or it didn't. But the negative effects were very low. Not a lot, but mostly people were getting something from it that were like in pain, chronic pain, and then also, and it was helping with dementia, which is interesting, you know. So yes, Amanita muscaria as an aphrodisiac dish, okay? In Germany, they make a soup from the red skin. And I haven't tried this yet. I might have to try it. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I have used this in settings with a lover before, and I have to say, you have to be careful. You don't want to drink too much because then you just go to sleep. And then you're like, oh, we're all cuddled up, isn't that sweet? And it is sweet. It's just, you know, it can make you very, very sleepy. But it has been used in different ways as an aphrodisiac because it does calm the nervous system. And when we're calm and when we're collected, we're better able to function in general. That's where we'll talk about the muscimol, the ibotenic acid, and the muscarine. And muscarine itself actually is not super bad for you when it's in its mineral state as opposed to like a gas state. Okay, ibotenic acid. So ibotenic acid itself is not that bad, even though it is hard on our digestive system and it's hard on our organs. It is not so bad for our brain actually in that state. So little amounts of it is actually kind of good. Kind of like if you eat an apple and you eat the seeds, it's got cyanide in it. But just that little bit of cyanide is like very, very good for treating cancer and things like that. At least that's what my homeopath always told me. I was like, but if you eat a ton of them or you're just taking straight cyanide, it's not a good idea. So what we're talking about here with muscimol is that it binds to the GABA receptors in our brain, okay? So like say someone with epilepsy who has epileptic seizures, what happens is that the brain thought, it's like electrical pulses, right? And so if it doesn't make it from this point to this point correctly, like to the receptor, it has a misfire. And so when it's misfiring, you go into like a seizure or something, okay? I have a client out of SOMA, California, or Colorado, and he said he's had epilepsy forever, and he can tell when he's about to have an episode, and he'll start tasting like a copper or some kind of metallic flavor in his mouth, and he starts sweating. You can tell. He said he takes just a couple dropperfuls of my stuff, and within about 15 minutes, just everything calm. He just feels calm, and that the seizures don't come on. And I'm like, that's a huge deal. So basically, what happens is that muscimol binds to the GABA receptor and allows a really smooth transference of that electrical pulse. And so GABA, if you're familiar with taking GABA, gabapentin.
I take GABA.
Gabapentin, yeah. It's very relaxing to the nervous system.
It stops the nerve recruitment for pain, see, so that's one of the reasons pain.
It's good for pain, right?
The recruitment of adjacent nerves would cause you to have a larger experience of pain than you really need.
I see, it would make it worse. That makes sense. Yeah, these were found in Sebastopol. I was very excited about that. Yes. Try these for me. I can't take them on the plane. So So there's plenty of studies on this, and it helps with MS, like anything nervous system related. This is a mushroom that I also, when I have people come to me and ask about what to take for Parkinson's, I tell them lion's mane, Amanita muscaria. I tell them psilocybin, and then I also tell them chaga. And it's an interesting one. Chaga is lots of melanin in it. Melanin is what you find in your skin, in your eyes. It makes your hair colored, things like that. But it's also found in the midbrain, neuromelanin. And they found that people with Parkinson's have little to no neuromelanin in their midbrain. And they don't know why, they don't know what the correlation is. But, you know, it's logical to me that if we're gonna take chaga to treat skin-related diseases or to reverse, say, radiation damage and things like that, take it, and we already know it interacts with our pineal gland, helps with regulation of circadian rhythms and things like that. Go ahead and take it. The more melanin, the better, because you know there's a lot lacking in science and our understanding of what's going on within the human body. We have a goodly amount of information, but there's a lot lacking. Let's see here. So yeah, healthy sexual function requires GABA, and so that's one of the connections I was making logically with the Amanita muscaria and its interactions with the GABA receptors. But I know taking it personally, some people take it and they're like, oh my god, especially like I have this formula called Love Rush, and it has some Amanita muscaria in it, but it has things like phenylethylamine, which is found in chocolate, helps produce serotonin in the brain, maca and ashwagandha. There's a bunch of different herbs and things like that that help with the mood and help relax the nervous system. And but yeah, I get some pretty good feedback on that, like how good it makes people feel, and guys are like, oh, I was wondering why I was so like, I'm like, okay, well yeah. But so GABA controls your so GABA is really important for arousal and libido and things like that. So I mean, yeah, just taking GABA by itself would probably help. The Amanita muscaria, like I said, you don't even need a lot. I mean, like really, you don't need a lot. It's very intelligent. But it helps with achieving for men who have like ED. It helps to have a healthy erection. With women, it can help relax, because it's really hard to get turned on if you're like tense or uptight or not feeling comfortable. So it just helps with that. You know, some people might drink a glass of wine to get there too. You know, it's just about what you're interested in, I suppose. I've sometimes added Amanita muscaria and make these love potions in my kombucha. You know, those are fun too. Kombucha. Serotonin. Serotonin release, dopamine release, and how do we produce oxytocin? You know, they haven't found a chemical specifically that helps us release oxytocin, but we can support oxytocin release, because we know it's like when we think about someone we love, we can feel oxytocin. It's a bonding, it's a bonding chemical. You hold your baby, you feel oxytocin. You pet a puppy, you feel oxytocin, you know? You give someone a kiss, it's oxytocin. That's why hugs are so important. So women's hormones, that's something I'm very interested in. I'm a woman, I have women in my life. GABA has a complex effect on hormones in women. It helps with estrogen and progesterone balance and whatnot. So it is my belief that this would probably help with that. There are other mushrooms that help balance women's hormones, but to me, Amanita muscaria specifically is, like I said, an intelligent one, and it kind of just teaches you intelligent. I don't know if it really tells your body, but it helps your body to learn how to regulate itself. We'll just put it that way. Here's a neat video of me looking for Amanita muscaria, and I found a moose. I thought that maybe the deer were eating these things, and I was like, okay, yeah, we all know deer, reindeer. You've heard the flying reindeer. I thought Amanita muscaria, but I was above Durango, Colorado area, and over Moles Pass, and there was a male moose who was looking at me, and I was like, they are eating the amanita. They were very chill, you know, they were very relaxed.
Chilling out.
They were chilling out. They like the amanita muscaria. So yeah, I have a product. I'm not trying to sell my products. I didn't really come here to vend, but I do make the amanita muscaria microdoses in it, and it does help people. So maitake, you guys have maitake that grow here, right?
That's
Does
it.
it doesn't grow in this area? Someone upstairs told me it grew here, but maybe they weren't.
Yeah, they grow it. They grow it.
They grow it.
Matsutake.
I
You
actually
know
have found it,
matsutake
I
as
have
well.
found it one time, I think.
So maitake, yeah, I thought, yeah.
It was
I
on
know
a
it's some-
stump or
Because
something.
I know it grows over in Pennsylvania and down toward Georgia. Maitake grows a lot of places. It does not grow in Colorado, but maitake is really good for fertility and balancing women's hormones. And there are a lot of case studies. There are human studies. So when our hormones are balanced, we are going to be a lot healthier in general, right? When we're talking about sexual health and we're talking about fertility, maitake, I talk about maitake, Msc.D mushrooms, which is Phalaenus lentius. I think that grows in this area. We have a Phalaenus tremulae in my area. But these things they're not necessarily, you wouldn't call them a stimulant. You wouldn't refer to them as an aphrodisiac necessarily. But when you put all these things together and you make for a holistic approach of, dealing with your own health, that's what I'm interested in, is whole health.
I guess the reactions with the gut bacteria and serotonin and stuff like that.
I bet you're correct about that. And a lot of these mushrooms do help balance your gut flora. Maitake is a really beautiful mushroom. We're gonna have for dinner tonight at her. I saw them up there preparing it. I was like, ooh, maitake. So we'll all get the health benefits from that, Lots of they've got lots of vitamins and minerals and things, but when we look at the case studies of Graphola frondosa and the fact that it helps like women transition into menopause, it helps with for periods, having too heavy of periods. I mean, it helps with a lot of things. And so if your hormones are kind of imbalanced, you don't feel very good. You don't feel very sexual. You don't feel very sexy. And so I find it to be very important to attack these things. Well, I don't like the word attack, but like to face these things from a holistic way. Msc.D mushroom, it looks very much like a reishi, or it almost looks like a red belted polypore. But this one is also really, really good for balancing women's hormones. It's gonna be good for men too, it's just in different ways. And I'm making a formula right now with those two mushrooms, including cordyceps, because I always thought that cordyceps was really good for men. There are these, it's been shown to increase libido, but it also helps to bring oxygen to the muscles, to the bloodstream. So it's used by a lot of athletes and whatnot. So I just recently found out that cordyceps balance estrogen and progesterone. And I was like, oh, okay. Because, the body, both men and women do benefit from taking cordyceps. It does raise the libido in both men and women. But in men, it raises testosterone. I know that I don't know if it's an epidemic, but men are having lower and lower levels of testosterone than we did 20 years ago. And so it's it could be the water, it could be the plastics, the microplastics, any number of reasons. But ultimately, looking at, what nature is showing us is very good. There's a handbook out there. This is volume 1. I think William Padilla Brown, if you know who he is, he came out with volume 2. He teaches you how to grow cordyceps yourself. Cordyceps is a really weird mushroom. I mean, look at his face. I mean, what is going on here? Oh my gosh. If you guys don't know William Padilla Brown, he is absolutely a stunning individual, extremely knowledgeable about all sorts of things mushrooms related, and he's out in Pennsylvania, and I believe he has his own mushroom festival out there. Cordyceps sinensis, Cordyceps militaris. There are many varieties actually. They grow on different insects and arachnids and things like that. Now I know Christopher Hobbs was adamantly against the Cordyceps sinensis. I've heard all the different sides of this. You know, I don't know if you are even familiar with the difference. Cordyceps sinensis grows in the high regions of Tibet and other places above 14,000 feet. When it grows wild, it's really like, it's more expensive than gold, okay? And it's utilized for its aphrodisiac properties and raising libido and things like that. But the thing is that Cordyceps sinensis cannot be fruited in a laboratory. I spoke with John Holliday, who used to own Aloha Medicinals, and he did all the Cordyceps research back in the early 2000s. And he was adamant that this stuff was still, like, is really good. So I just used the Cordyceps sinensis for a long time. He actually sent me like a kilo in the mail. I'm like, all right, a kilo Cordyceps. And I used it in a lot of things, and it really helped with energy levels. So I actually work with both militaris and sinensis. I think they have their places, both of them. Ophiocordyceps sinensis is his new name, I guess. So yeah, Cordyceps helps with all the things. It's another one of those panaceas, you know. It's a really strange mushroom in that it takes over the nervous systems of, you know, these other creatures, but it interacts with us in different ways. Thankfully, it doesn't take over our nervous system, because that would be quite scary. So yes, and there are studies on this as well. Cordycepin is what you're looking for. This is what it looks like when it's growing on the ghost moth. You know, it pops a mushroom out of its head. This will be under the ground, and that's above ground. It's very interesting. This is Daniel Winkler. He's here somewhere. He leads the mushrooming tour. So he goes to Tibet and leads forays up there, and that's kind of on my bucket list. That is a big spider. It's creepy, but it's also kind of beautiful in a weird way, right?
Yeah.
The Cordyceps is kind of a creepy thing.
So is there a different kind of Cordyceps that's a spider?
That one is probably not militaris, because militaris is bright orange, and that's not, I don't know which one that is specifically. And there are like probably hundreds of varieties. You know, if you, like for instance, I'm interested in like, there's a pine beetle in Colorado that's killing a lot of the pine trees, and I'm like, well, if we could isolate that particular Cordyceps, we might be able to use it to kind of control the population. I mean, there's.
I think Stamets was patented one or something like that.
He did something similar with it was for ants. It was for ants.
Termites, I think.
And yeah, carpenter ants. Yeah.
He's working on this.
And he's still working on it? I thought he took over all the patents. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But no, Trad Potter told me that they already isolated the pine beetle one.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, really? So I actually want to put a fire under him and go, hey, what's up with that? So yeah, I went to a Chinese restaurant, or not restaurant, a store, and they had for $14,000 a pound. You could get some wild Cordyceps sinensis. So I was like,
$1 a lick.
Yeah. So this is Anthony Kunkel. He lives in Durango, Colorado, and he's a second-time U.S. champion for road running. And he came out about how he uses psychedelics in his training. He uses psilocybin, he uses cordyceps and things like that, but he also he just told me he uses LSD as well. But when he came out about using these substances, a lot of his sponsors dropped him. He came to me and was like, Rayne, should I come out? You know, and I was like, well, you know, what is your heart telling you? And he came out about 4 years ago. He's on our board of directors for the Psychedelic Club. And he's doing really well. Now he's sponsored by people who actually believe in what he's doing. And, you know, this guy's a super geek. He's a nerd, and he is all about nutrition, and he monitors his sleep cycles and all sorts of things. So he's been helping me monitor. He uses Amanita muscaria, and he uses the salve, actually, and puts it on his third eye and on his neck. And I'm like, huh, interesting. So and then he'll take, he doesn't microdose, he macrodoses, which is interesting. But he's like kind of like a super guy. Anthony Kunkel. I really have a lot of respect for him. That's not him. mushrooms. Okay, so this is now a very, very popular topic. I mean, it's been popular forever, right? I mean, psilocybin, but silly mushrooms, psilocybe mushrooms, hundreds of varieties. But it's been used for time immemorial. It really has. I specifically am very interested, for some reason, in the usages in Central America. I used to have dreams about it, and I don't know why. I've never even been to Central America. But the Aztecs use it. They mix it with chocolate or cacao drinks. So cacao itself is an MAO inhibitor. So when you have an MAO inhibitor, what happens is your brain will build up serotonin in it, and then when it all kind of releases, like you get these big waves of euphoria and bliss. So serotonin is a really powerful chemical in the brain, and so you know, they would make aphrodisiacs, the Aztecs. I'm not specifically that interested in the Aztecs because they were kind of warlike. They were a little more violent and whatnot. There is a rendition of the mushroom stones that have, I get, it doesn't have all of them?
The Olmecs actually probably did all this work, and the Aztecs just were warriors that came in and took it away.
Gotcha. Well, I've been like studying more of the Toltecs and things like that. I like that they were kind of like they were a cult that were more like, I say cult has a negative connotation to it. They were a group of people that were more heart-centered. They were more nature-centered and things like that. So that is more in alignment with what I'm into. There's the psychedelic club. All right, so psilocybin stimulates the growth of new brain cells and new nervous tissues throughout your entire body. So I think this is an important brain up here, but we also have this brain. And we also have this brain. You know, you hear like, oh, I've got a gut feeling about something. That is an intelligence. The heart itself has now been shown to hold memory and things like that. Yes, cacao and Aztecs. Okay, we're gonna move on to that. Stacking psychedelics. Yes, cacao, chocolate, psilocybin, and other things that I haven't met. So, okay, the heart and brain connection. So there is a book called The Science of the Heart, and we're going to learn more about this particular topic. So the heart, it retains information, it retains memories. It can be broken, it can hurt, it can remember things. And so when we think about like retraining our nervous system, when we talk about retraining ourselves to get through like maybe PTSD, or if you've gone through some kind of trauma, or you just, you know, you've had a hard experience and you need a refresher. It's not just this brain, okay? Our heart, as far as I can tell, needs to be open right now. There's been, you know, there's throughout time, you know, in history, it's always important for the heart to be open, but right now, I just feel like it's a really important thing to think about. Now, our nervous system connects this brain and this brain. I mean, it's all connected, right? And the vagus nerve, well, there's a very big nerve that kind of runs from the spine down and goes all the way to the heart. And this particular guy here, Tom Lane, he wrote a book called Sacred Mushroom Rituals, and he studies the Toltecs and their usages. He said he lived in Central America for over 20 years, studying their traditional usages of mushrooms and their rituals and whatnot. And when I first talked to him, it was on the phone, and it was a couple of years ago. And some of the things he started telling me, it was like deja vu. I was like, oh, like some of the things I've talked about for years, about how to intake mushrooms, I was like, oh, it's like, it's something that has been known about. This is in our genetic memory, obviously, in some way. But he calls it the sacred mushroom rituals and the deified heart, okay? So what he talks about, and he helps to decipher these images. They're Toltec, and I think he said this is this was his name, this was his thing right here, or something like that. I was like, oh, there you go. He's like, that one right there is mine. Okay. But what he talks about in that book is that, so they would take their psilocybin mushroom, Psilocybe zappadocorum, it's also referred to as the crown of thorns. It's a really, really strong psilocybin-based mushroom. And he said they would pick it fresh. Well, first of all, they would like fast for about a week. You want a clean system. And then before intaking any of this, you drink a really strong cacao drink. They would have a ceremony, drink cacao. So you're already getting that in your system. It warms up everything, it gets the blood flowing. And also it's an MAO inhibitor, so it's gonna make you stronger.
Chilies or something.
So what he said is that they would take this mushroom and hold it fresh, because I've always known to dry it first, but they would take it fresh, and then they would take honey and pour it over the top of the mushroom, and they use honey from the Mexican honey wasp. So it's not even a bee, it's an actual wasp that produces honey. And so they would sing to it, and he says that supposedly the mushroom dances. I don't know, I haven't done that, so I'll have to let you guys know. Or if you sing to your mushrooms, let me know if they dance. I'm curious, you know. But no, so you sing to the mushroom, like basically put intention into it, and then you put it in your mouth and you chew it. But you don't swallow it. You chew it and chew it and chew it and chew it, massacate for about 15 minutes. And then you spit the mushroom matter out. You don't swallow it. And so what happens is you absorb it through your mouth, through your mucous membranes. And what he was explaining is that it's in your mouth, so it's close to your brain, right? But that it travels, it absorbs, and it goes down in the vagus nerve and it goes straight to your heart. So this is this is like when you put this intention out there that you're opening your heart and you're opening your heart brain, you know, your consciousness, then, there's a lot to be said for intention, you know. But I find it to be very interesting. We all know that psilocybin creates a situation where we're more open-minded, we're more open-hearted, we're more apt to connect with one another because we feel connected. I don't know how many people here have done psilocybin, but it makes me feel very connected. You're laughing, you must not have ever had any. But no, it makes you feel connected to everything, and you notice the connection we have with each other and with nature. And specifically, if you're doing it with a partner who your intention is to connect with them, that it can be a very powerful experience. Especially, well, not only with like newlyweds or people who are just falling in love, but like if you're in a situation where you're having trouble with your partner, you know, it's a good idea to try to get on the same page. It's not a bad idea to drop into some of these other these aphrodisiacs or these psychedelics in order to connect. And like I said, with doing that, you kind of want to make sure it's lower levels, not a macrodose. Taking these mushrooms while having sex, it can be really, really profound. Especially if you are in love with your partner, it's going to be profound. And so like a microdose is about 1/10 of a gram. It's under a gram. I think Chris Hobbs said it was a gram or less. I think a gram is a lot, but you know, you can build up tolerances. But 5 grams is a heroic dose. So somewhere in between there, you know, it's probably about 2 grams. If you can feel psilocybin, most of us can feel it, because some people have like a resistance to feeling it. But I call it a euphoric dose or an aphrodisiac dose. You can also, I don't know if I just recently found this out by, Juliana down in Chile. She was like, hey, you want to smoke some of these mushrooms? And I was like, psilocybin? And she's like, yes. Okay. So I smoked some, and it's actually quite nice, okay? So it's not gonna be as strong as intaking it, like ingesting it, but it goes to your bloodstream faster. So, and I've heard, you know, people, well, what if you're inhaling the spores? I mean, you're burning them, you're smoking the smoke. So you're not inhaling the spores. You're burning you're smoking it. I like to mix it with cannabis. You can mix it with other things. It doesn't really have that good of a flavor on your lips, in my opinion. than smoking it. But if you take a couple hits of psilocybin, it actually is quite nice. It's mellow. It's not going to make you see a bunch of like designs and stuff, but it's just kind of enhances things.
Or is it like ground up, or is it
Yeah.
dried and ground?
I mean, I like powdering it in general, but you know, you can crumble it. You can also smoke the amity and Mysteria in the same way. Totally different. I would say not to take them together. I've heard of people taking it together, but I really feel like those particular mushrooms should be taken separate. But that's just my personal opinion. So lion's mane, again with nervous system health, such a beautiful mushroom. I'm just pointing out the similarities, you know. This is where it's like, is that pseudoscience? You know, it looks so much like the cerebellum, you know, so lion's mane, as we know, have enzymes in it that are not only neuroprotective, but also neurogenerative. And it's really important to understand that the enzymes that are produced in the mycelium are what are neurogenerative. That's what helps to grow the nervous tissue. So I'm a proponent for full spectrum mushrooms across the board if you can. A lot of it's understudied, but the lion's mane has been studied for that. And so that's my take on it, is that the mycelium and the fruiting body are both important.
Someone said it protects the stomach too, or something like, it was a healing for ulcer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lion's mane's good for ulcers and helps to balance gut flora as well. It helps with our heart, as you know, so it helps with heart disease, balances cholesterol levels, helps people with diabetes, so it helps with the blood sugar levels. These are all really important. I mean, again, it's like with the whole body, the whole system. And this is just a fun video.
It tastes really good too.
Wood ear mushrooms are just fun. I mean, I don't know, when I see them, I just need to play with them. That was just a fun thing. So wood ear mushrooms, the extract has been studied for their aphrodisiac effects. Who would have thought? But we know that it interacts with our blood and our blood circulation and can kind of actually thin the blood. And so, you know, it depends on what, you know, with wood ears, they say not to take it if you are on certain medications and whatnot. So, you know, because it does work with the blood, and you know, you don't want to hemorrhage or something, but like, it's interesting that it is utilized for blood circulation. So when you have a healthy nervous system and your blood flow is good and your gut is operating good and your heart is healthy, you know, all these things. You guys know Teresa? She's fun. I love her. Willicoche, corn smut. Who came up with that name? Like, so it's a type of fungus, if you're not familiar. I've actually inoculated, I've grown some corn and inoculated it, and it turned out like that. But when it's eaten, I think it's got lots of lycopene in it. So corn doesn't have any lycopene in it, but then but like supposedly this is an aphrodisiac. I haven't used it as an aphrodisiac, so I'm curious. But it does have a really interesting name, you know.
If you were
or nickname, you know.
if you're malnourished,
The Mexican truffle. But it has been used as an aphrodisiac, and it's probably because it's really nutritious. You know, when we have a really nutritious diet, so we're probably going to be a lot more active in all the ways. But I found it to be interesting because I was like, I had no idea that such a smutty thing was going to be an aphrodisiac. You know? So let's see here. So there is an online group called Mycosexuals, and maybe some of you guys are familiar with them. It's a whole Facebook group, and it's funny. I joined the group, and it's really funny. People post up a lot of very strange pictures. It may not be aphrodisiacs, but you know, they're having fun. That's all that matters. Very feminine, very masculine. Oh my goodness, okay. I'll show one more video of me licking a mushroom. I uploaded it to the mycosexuals group, it was fine. Oh God. So dumb. So dumb, okay. So, yeah, mushrooms. And there's the whole it's controversial. Supposedly there was a mushroom that grows in Hawaii, according to John Holliday, and also Darwin's granddaughter wrote about it as well. It's a type of stinkhorn, okay? And I wrote an article about the possibility of this being, I have been attacked for writing this article, okay? But I was like, it's all based on a study, and I didn't say it is real, but I said, hey, like, why not? I mean, we have truffles that let off a similar pheromone as like pig pheromones. Why couldn't the smell of a mushroom cause orgasm? So like, it's not just Hawaii, it's other islands, but so this particular stinkhorn grows in volcanic soils that are 500 years old or older. So it's well-established volcanic soil. And supposedly if the woman has been good and the gods have shown their light on her, she'll be able to find this mushroom, and upon smelling will have an orgasm. That's the theory about it, or the story.
I have
So-
a question.
Yeah.
So what would happen if a man were to smell it?
So John Holliday back in
You change sex.
yeah, fine all of a sudden. So John Holliday, he did a study in 2001, and it was all volunteers. He took 20 men and 16 women. It was all volunteers. And every man that smelled it was repulsed. I don't know if you've smelled a stinkhorn, but they're strong. And they attract flies to it, kind of like dead meat or something like that. And the flies come and then land on the spores and spread the spores, right? Well, so they said that every woman who sniffed it either had an orgasm, raised heart rate, or just felt euphoria. I wrote this article and I had several people reach out and attack me. So like, how could you? This is not real. I'm like, I didn't say it was real. But I had a woman get a hold of me and she said, hey, I showed John Holliday where they were growing. And I was like, oh. And then I talked to another man who was like, yeah, no, I was a part of that study. So I know that they had the study. So now I'm just thinking.
Nobody tried to turn it into a perfume.
You could, but see,
Here
only
comes your $14,000 perfume.
So I need to go down there. I'm like, well, obviously more studies need to be done on this topic. And I'm going.
I live in Hawaii, and I have smelled a stinkhorn and not have those effects. So I don't, unless I'm not smelling the right one,
You might
or
not
the
be.
sniff has not been, but yeah, it's been a popular thing that people send to us in Hawaii, and I'm always like,
And it's supposedly on Maui.
I would love to
specifically.
meet someone who's actually had this effect, because when I smell it, it smells like rotting blood.
Well, I'm gonna get a hold of this lady who told me she said I'm the one
Have
that
her show you the spot.
Well, then show me.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to know. So lore is lore, and until it's proven, it's lore, but it's fun to think about. And I don't think it's impossible. I think that there are a lot of things that we don't understand on this planet. So I don't doubt it. The witch's butter is also very interesting. I think it reminds. So these they're very mucilaginous. I don't know. Have you ever played with them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're fun. That one was like particularly sensual to me. I was like, what is going on here? It's like, it's fun. All the exciting things. Drop spores, not bombs. So, in Colorado, we just passed in November. We just passed a new act. It's called the Natural Medicine Act. So now psilocybin is decriminalized, as well as mescaline and other plant medicine. So this is a big deal, and it just went through on the 5th of January. So this is brand new. And so I think it's going to empower people to be able to put their health in their own hands.
question, I was wondering, because the last speaker just spoke on this, and I didn't, then you have recent information, so is it deprioritized or decriminalized?
So, okay, so this is where, see, I almost voted against this act, okay, and I'm pro psilocybin. There are a lot of wording within it that I don't particularly like, but I guess it's a step in the right direction. It is decriminalized statewide for everyone, okay? You can grow it, you can give it away, you can take it, you can do ceremony, but you cannot sell it. But it is legalized in therapeutic settings, but they have not, but it's gonna be regulated by a group of 16 people. They'll have that on the Natural Medicine Act, be a board of directors. They work with the, they're working with the state, basically. And I'm actually looking into what they're looking for, see if I'm interested in maybe joining their board. I don't live in Denver, it's an 8-hour drive, but, you know, with Zoom and things like that. So basically, in a year from now, that board of directors will then start regulating. We have like health centers and things like that popping up. So it's a slow moving thing, but the things are moving faster than it was projected. So it's actually, you know, it's really good. I like that it's a group of people that will be regulating it and not just like one person per se. But yeah, it will be legal in therapeutic setting, but that's still kind of in the works, I guess, yeah. But yeah, there are loopholes and people are now selling spores and grow kits and things like that. But it's one step at a time, you know. It's giving the power to the people. Where I sit with all of it is that I help spread information because I think that education is where we can make our own minds up and make better choices. And I really, you know, I know that I want to be healthy and I want my children to be healthy and I want the people around me to be healthy. So I'm an advocate of mushrooms in general for our ecology, for our world at large, for our ability to make wise decisions and be healthy individuals so that we can kind of counteract some of the travesties that has been inflicted upon our planet by human misusage and mismanagement. And so I try to spread as much information, and if I don't know about something, I will dive into it and find information or point people in directions where they can jump into these, you know, learn more themselves. So it's all about empowering the individual. I've come up with some of my own stacks. I just mentioned a few here for anyone that is interested. This one's for energy restoration, migraine mitigation, and nerve repair. So psilocybin you can take it just straight, but I don't recommend it. When you eat a dried mushroom by itself, you're gonna lose about 80% of the psilocin, okay, through your urinary tract. So to me, it's really important to pre-convert it or prepare it properly before you take it so that you're already turning the psilocybin into psilocin, and then you're able to, it's more bioavailable, and it makes your product stronger. There are a couple different methods that I talk about in how to prepare your psilocybin. Psilocybin mushroom is, my favorite is always grind it up. Grind it up, the finer the powder, the more surface area, and then you're able to extract it easier. Lemon tech is one way to do it. I know some people are like, oh, lemon tech, don't do it, whatever, okay. Any kind of acid, you can use orange juice, vinegar, you could probably even use coffee, something acidic. Some people use other, I like to go with the natural stuff, but lemon's good. So weigh out what you're gonna do, like if you're doing a microdose, a half a gram, a tenth of a gram, whatever you wanna use. Mix it in with your lemon juice and let it set for 20 minutes. No longer than 20 minutes, otherwise it starts to degrade. So after about 20 minutes, you can pour your hot water. I just pour hot water, I don't boil it because psilocin is it's fragile in heat. So if you're gonna boil it, it's gonna destroy any naturally occurring psilocin in that mushroom. But psilocybin is heat tolerant, so it's not gonna destroy the psilocybin. Basically, heating it up is going to help to break down the chitin, which makes it easier to digest. So some people will eat psilocybin and they get an upset stomach. You want to break down the chitin, and you also want to convert your psilocybin into psilocin. Lemon tech's a really good way to do it. I like to mix honey with it. Another way that you can pre-convert it is to take your dried psilocybin powder and mix it in with raw honey. Raw honey has enzymes in it and probiotics and things like that are going to pre-digest it. It's also a form of water extracting because it has a water base. And so, that's one of my favorite ways to do it. But this one is really good for migraines and things like that. I say to take your psilocybin, and you're also taking cordyceps, which is going to raise your energy. It's neuroprotective and things like that. I like to add lion's mane to it as well. But raw cayenne pepper is the key ingredient here, because cayenne pepper, capsicum, brings things to your bloodstream really fast, okay? And it's, be careful, with certain types of drugs and things like that. If you're on medications, it might say not to take cayenne pepper, so just be aware of that. But cayenne pepper brings things to the bloodstream fast, but it also helps with migraines. So my whole thing with using psilocybin is that you can use it, so even in microdoses or whatever, you can use it to train your nervous system or retrain your nervous system. Like just say, you're an athlete and you're a runner and you want to train for running, or if you're learning the guitar, or you're learning to juggle, or whatever it is that you like to do, you can do microdosing. And when you're microdosing and you're doing that activity, you're training your nervous system to get good at that. It's like sharpening your skills. So, to me, it's like when you take these things and you're regimenting it with other activities. So you say I don't have migraines anymore. I used to have migraines a lot. And, psilocybin already helps with like cluster headaches and things like that. So I was taking the psilocybin and cordyceps and lion's mane and taking the capsicum. And that was, I feel like it was helping to train my body to stop having these, have these headaches and whatnot. So you can do cayenne pepper by itself and it will help with the headache. Yes.
Question. So you said only 20 minutes because it'll start to break down. Does that mean chemically degrade, or it will break down the structure of the...
It starts to destroy the psilocin, basically. It's like, because psilocin's a little more fragile. Like psilocybin seems to be a lot more stable, especially in heat and whatnot. But yeah, because psilocin gets destroyed by even like sunlight and things like that. So some people say to store it in a dark place away from the light.
And also, you couldn't put like tartaric acid into a microdose capsule to have that same effect?
Into the capsule? I wonder, then it's probably going to be activated then in your stomach, right?
Yeah.
That's where it would mix. Your stomach is acidic and your body does turn psilocybin into psilocin. It's just that you lose a lot of it. So, maybe drinking it with a glass of orange juice, or, you can play around with that and see how that feels to you and let me know.
That might be the absorption in your mouth. By being acidified early on, it would be absorbed more in your mucus
membrane.
before it gets to your stomach, because it's always going to be acidified in your stomach.
Right. So what I was explaining about training your system. So in hormone balance, so if you were taking the maitake, I was talking earlier about the maitake and the SEMA and how it helps to balance, specifically women's hormones. If you're taking that with the psilocybin, and especially if your intention is that, it's going to train, it's just going to hasten the process as far as I can tell. So I like the lemon tech, like I said. What I do is that when I've let it sit in the lemon juice for 20 minutes, I like to add honey to it at that time as well. And so when you stir the honey in with that acid, it just like turns to liquid really fast. It's kind of cool. And then when I pour my hot water on, I let it sit for another few minutes, kind of like you were steeping a tea. And that's going to help to break down the chitin, the heat is. But it just tastes really nice. And I know it hits your system a lot faster doing it that way. But the stomach aches, it reduces or gets rid of the stomach aches by doing it that way. It's a lot more bioavailable. And then if you want to help with dream or help with sleep, I know like my sister has had a sleeping disorder and she had to take medication. She got on the Amanita muscaria and she does not take her medication anymore. If she is having trouble going to sleep, she just takes her, and she doesn't even need to take the Amanita very regularly anymore. But it is a sleep mushroom. It induces dream state, and so I like to mix my Amanita muscaria. I take 3 to 4 grams of dried matter, just the cap. I'm gonna weigh it up, just the cap. It's already dry. And I say to dry it on a dryer or in the sun. The sun does a really good job. But you want it to be cracker dry, like crispy. And you take, for me, my body weight, I'm about 122 pounds, but 3 to 4 grams is a decent amount, and it does make me extremely drowsy. So boil just the caps for about 45 minutes, and then when you strain all of that off, you're just drinking the liquid. I like to steep passion flower or chamomile. Passion flower is really nice for your nervous system as well. And then I'll mix some honey in it, and it tastes really nice. It's very gentle, and it does make you feel drowsy. So it's interacting with your GABA receptors. And it induces dream state. I've even found that if I smoke just a little bit right before bed, I'll have very intense dreams. I've gotten feedback from people who say, "Oh, I don't dream. Oh, I never had dreams." And then like here, and I give them a little cap. I'm like, "Let me know," and they'll smoke it and tell me about this intense dream they had. And I'm like, "Wow, that's really amazing."
Now is that after you boiled it 3 times? Because you mentioned sometimes you like to boil it multiple times.
That was if you were making it into a food product, because you're parboiling it, you're removing the stuff that would give you the drowsiness, and you're just eating the mushroom matter, right? Well, yeah, you're just making the tea.
Gotcha.
So put the mushroom matter goes to the side. I will mention that you can also, since you can absorb it through your skin, and it's really nice using it topically. I did this one time I had like some big caps that started molding a little bit, and I was like, "Oh, I can't do anything with this," and I was like, "I want to throw it away." So I boiled it, and I didn't weigh it up. They were like big caps. I boiled a bunch of it, and I poured it into my bathtub, and I got in my bath, and I soaked for like an hour and a half, and I was like, I felt really relaxed, just dreaming, dreaming. So my boyfriend, I was like, "Hey, you gotta try this," and so I did it for us, and we took a bath, and we were like soaking, and we got out. We were just so silly and giggly, and it just felt really nice. But you can absorb it through your skin, and it's a really nice way to do it. And if you're feeling a little, adventurous, try taking a bath with your mushrooms. So we're getting to the end of my presentation here. We do have the Four Corners Mycological Society. Feel free to join our group. It's open to everyone. And there are a lot of species here that are there and vice versa, but it's always nice to connect with other mushroom communities. I'm in Durango, Colorado, and we have all of the 4 states, and I do like that. And then we also have the nonprofit organization Psychedelic Club, a chapter in Durango. I am the president of that group, and so if there are any of you, or if you know people who are interested in being guest speakers, whether that's physical or by Zoom or anything like that, reach out to me, because we're always looking for guest speakers to talk about the things that they're studying and share. And I have the Colorado Mushroom Company, and so that's where I have my medicines, and I teach about a lot of different topics. And I'm also finishing up my documentary. It's been a decade now, but can mushrooms save the planet? It's a question. What the heck is saving the planet? Anyway, because the planet doesn't need saving, you guys. It's the species on this planet that needs saving.
Yeah.
And fungi and bacteria, as far as I can tell, play a huge role in that. So, all right, so I'll end it there. And I don't know what our time is or anything like that.
It's 4:05.
Perfect. Well, then perfect timing. There you go. I'll see you at dinner. Have a maitake dinner. Yes.
you.
Yeah.
I will push that.
Is it the stash?
I know, I didn't.
Yeah, I have other ones.
Like,
too.
there are so many
Yeah.
like tonight that have been here. Yeah, I saw another one tonight. I might do that.
So it depends, so, the energy focus.
Yeah.
This is lion's mane and 2 strains of cordyceps. That's $15 an ounce. And I have, I only bought it for
One second.
and it's kind of like hard on the plane. But, like with the love rush that has like Aphrodisiacs and, it has a bunch of, proteins and things, it's usually 25 an ounce. But, I have a bunch of them up at, Wyatt upstairs with the, Jewels of the Forest. He offered a little corner of his table.
You can buy some of these.
Yeah, I could kind of go in and out of there, like sometimes made on the booth, but just like put my stuff there.
And the energy and Mysteria that you use in your tincture, is it the water extract?
It's a dual extract actually, so like all of the constituents are water soluble, but then I was reading, in here they talk about just using alcohol, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. So I use the alcohol to make it shelf stable, and it's also a carrier, so like it absorbs, helps absorb. So it is a dual extract, but it's only 25% alcohol.
Well, is there ever any like adverse? So then if you eat the Mysteria, you can get all those like
Yeah, like if you ate it fresh, or even like if it was dried and you ate it, you might get sick to the stomach, but you're not gonna die. It makes it weird, like almost like a exactly. Especially if you mix it with something that's calming, like I like chamomile, but I really like passion. Because passion flower is calm too, but it's also a natural aphrodisiac itself, so it just depends on what you're trying to achieve, right? Yeah.
And what is is it similar effects?
So what's interesting, when you smoke it, it interacts differently, actually, like I said. I find that when I smoke it, and I've smoked hundreds of people out, is that instead of getting sleepy, it kind of wakes you up in a weird way. So it like grounds me down. I feel really centered and grounded, but I feel hyper, like I'm hyper aware. And it's referred to as the businessman's hallucinogen as you smoke it, because you can get a lot done. And it doesn't seem like you're tripping. It's not like psilocybin at all. It's definitely it makes you really alert. Yeah, but calm sometimes. So it's probably really I like it. It's really nice.
Did you have any information on the solubility of it in fats?
So I do work with it in fats and oils. That's an interesting thing. So this is where Mysteria gets really weird, is that it doesn't behave the way you think it should. So I will take it, it's not oil soluble, but it's water soluble. So what, I have this dream of how to do this, and so I've done it, and it's weird, so I'll just explain it to you. I'll extract it in water, remove all the particles, so then you just have the liquid, right? And I simmer it until it's almost completely all gone. It's getting really dark. Then I add my coconut oil to it. And I simmer it until all the water has evaporated out. And so then what you have left is this very yellow oil. But then there are these weird tar bubbles that are all over the sides of the pot. And I'll scrape it out, and it's like a little, you can make it into a ball. It's
Like resinous.
it's a resin, and it's really weird. So I put it on like my chakra points, and I almost feel like I'm buzzing. But the oil itself, I've had clients tell me that when they put it on, they feel like it's buzzing, like it resensitizes. There was a woman that I spoke with who said that she had been raped, had sexual trauma, so she was completely numb, like sex didn't feel good, and she was using my salve in her erogenous zones, and she said that it resensitized her, like within only like 3 usages. But the tar, I don't know what to do with it, because I'm trying to figure out how to, because I'll take that oil and then I'll make it into other products. Mixing in like shea butter and things like that, the arnica, things like that. But but it behaves very interesting. So I have like these balls of tar in like little jars. I'm like, what am I gonna make this into? But I mean,
So do you find,
Oh, have you ever smoked lotus flower? Because it reminds me a bit similar of what you're describing.
I haven't smoked it. I've drank it in the tea,
Oh,
but I am making different smoke blends for different like to help with addiction and things like that. Like that smoke, you know, it's nice. I like to smoke it by itself, but I mix it with mullein and other herbs. But lotus flower would be a good one to mix in there too.
Yeah, I'd be curious how it compares or how it interacts with each
Yeah, I bet it's synergistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah, no, so my question then is, so I like, as far as like chronic pain, some of the formulas you said that it works, like, I mean, it has a special gift for
It's a GABA.
Pain.
It's a
yeah,
GABA.
chronic pain, and I have a friend who's worked a lot with microdosing and different things to try and, you know, switch those gears on chronic pain, and I'm just wondering, like, would topically be better, or not better, that's what I'm but like the difference between the way it interacts, and it interacts with you topically versus orally?
Yeah, I mean, and I've gotten different feedback. You know, I mean, I have one of my clients, she buys the tincture and she puts it on externally for arthritis. And then she just bought like, I don't know, 20 different bottles and had me shipping to all her friends all over the country. She's like, she's like, it's the only thing that helps her with arthritis. The tincture, she puts it directly on, and I'm like, well, that makes sense, you know, the alcohol will help with the absorption and everything. But, I mean, I would say do both.
Right,
You
like
know?
personally, so you have it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I take it mainly internally or I smoke it. I do sometimes use the salve, but not as much unless it's like something, like I hurt my twist in my ankle or something like that. So I don't have a lot of chronic pain, but, you know, I would say to do both. You know, just get it from both sides, you know, especially if it's chronic and.
Yeah, no, and in Mexico, I found the salve that someone up in the hills made, and it was like a canvas and I think peyote or mescaline salve.
Oh,
It
okay.
was amazing,
Oh,
and when I ran
wow.
out of it, because I have chronic pain, so it was
Uh-huh,
much better than I did years
I
ago.
have a coca
Mescaline
cannabis.
It was
salve.
very good. And it
Yeah.
was this older lady that made it, and I don't know how to get that. Because I noticed that was really helpful. I don't have chronic pain anymore.
Oh, that's good.
But I have two dear friends that do.
Yeah.
So I'm like very interested in like, how can we
Get
move
that.
away from the pharmaceuticals that haven't brought them much
Relief.
One of them's working microdosing and has had some luck in kind of rewiring those conversations and he's working
Sure.
with his bot like those, you know, receptors. Saying,
You wanna
like,
get
you don't
dosages
feel
down,
good.
about
Yeah.
600 milligrams of gabapentin is what Jim takes. I take about 400, about 3 times a day. I take about twice a day.
Wow.
But if you're thinking about a GABA agonist,
Well,
you
not
might
just
think
the-
about half a gram would be 500 milligrams, right? So about half a gram of an equivalency might be a starting place or a
Starting point.
place to look
Well, I just
at.
wondered
200 to
if-
500 right in there.
One of them had great luck with gabapentin and the other one didn't. And so, but plants I always believe and mushrooms and anything natural has different vibration levels that you can
Yeah.
access. So I was just hoping maybe there's some.
Well,
hope there.
100 milligrams,
Yeah,
yeah.
100 milligrams of gabapentin, you might as well take I don't know, a Pez or something. It doesn't do shit. And they always start you with 100, but
It's just
the
not
directions
right,
ramp you up. And if you don't ramp up, they won't do anything. Because the 100 milligram ones don't have any effect hardly.
Yeah.
You know, I think they do it just to shine on people or something like that.
Wow.
Well, that was wonderful. Thank you so much.
I hope that information was useful.
It's been such a fun day. And Melissa said we were trying to stay for dinner, but I think we'll get upstairs and get a book.